Hello to all of you moms out there. This is episode 16 of the Solve for Mom podcast. I'm your host, Anoki Kapasi. Well, welcome to the third installment of my holiday series. In the last holiday-themed episode, which was actually 2 episodes ago, episode 14, we talked about dealing with the havoc that the holidays bring to our schedules as work-at-home moms. And there are so many reasons that this time, which is actually very joy-filled, can also be quite overwhelming. In addition to those logistical problems, you might notice that our personal identities take a hit too. Between family time and social activities and addressing those lingering work tasks that we also have extra responsibilities at home. It's easy to lose sight of our purpose and passions and desires. Well, today I want to convince you that we can sort of flip the script a bit. The holidays actually have a lot of potential for self-discovery and reflection, purpose finding, and self-growth. So let's get the show on the road so that you can listen and use what you learn right now. Welcome to the Solve for Mom podcast. Do you love spending family time together every day but realize that your own interests have fallen to the wayside? Do you have a long list of things you wish to learn but you're so tired from trying to balance it all on your own and frustrated from not planning ahead to make it happen? Have you been mom for so long that you've lost track of who you are as an individual? Hi, I'm Anoki. I'm a PhD biomedical researcher, homeschooling mom, and life coach. I too poured myself into being a mom and thought I had to stop doing the things that I love to do. I was struggling to make time for myself, had lost my sense of direction, and kept second-guessing myself. I wanted to take back control of my purpose and passions. But I kept telling myself there'll be plenty of time for that later. Until I did what was natural to me. Using the methods of a scientist, I created plans to prioritize my values, organize my time, and take action towards my goals. If you're ready to go questing for your purpose, level up your learning, and confidently pursue your passions while still being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this complex equation we call life, it's time to sharpen our pencils and our minds and solve for mom. I want to pause and take a moment to thank you all, really, for listening, subscribing, and putting your reviews in. As a scientist, quality control is one of the most important parts of any project. And for podcasting, one form of quality control is through listener feedback. I read every single review and I use it to refine the show. In that way, you all, as the listeners, have such an active role in the success of this podcast. So I'm going to take a second to read a review. Love this new podcast. The episodes really resonated with me as a working mom and where I am today. And my journal is filled with new reflections. Solve for Mom, way to go. Anoki, you are an inspiration. Well, thank you so much, Vicky, for your kind words. I want to make this great for my listeners. I'm committed to being there and supporting you through this podcast. All right, guys, now let's get back to the show. It's actually a big topic of discussion in our culture, the big identity crisis problem. But I actually don't like to refer to it that way. I think it's actually overly dramatic and it's too easy to swing too far in the other direction. But as moms, I think we can all appreciate that sometimes it's hard to build this identity and work on our individuality. When I talk about working on our individuality, I don't mean it in the selfish sense. I don't want us to be a culture of me, or have discussions focused on I want, I need, whatever. As moms, we have all experienced times when we place everyone else's needs over our own. And that's really what I'm talking about. Many of us see this quote-unquote sacrifice as part of our job description because we are moms, right? We often think, I have to help our family because they depend on me. It seems obvious that to prioritize them, we must put our hobbies and our interests on hold for now. And that might be okay for certain situations. But over time, we become so far removed from the person we were before motherhood, and then we feel disconnected from our passions, our values, and our sense of self. We no longer know what our interests are, let alone actually having a hobby. We no longer do the things that are just for us. And sometimes you might feel you don't know what you enjoy or find meaningful anymore. There's actually a survey that was done in 2019 that found that 78% of mothers report feeling that they've lost some aspect of their identity after having children. Does that sound like you? And then, as the designated family organizer, this probably is amplified during the holidays for you because that is a time when your time becomes limited. And so pursuing your passions just doesn't seem to fit in your schedule. And of course, you're onloading so many more activities during the holidays that your mental space to explore other interests is probably limited as well. So to address this issue, I'm going to share 3 powerful ways that the holidays can inspire you to connect with yourself a little better. It might help to write these down. Each of these ways are completely different approaches, and you might be able to work on them at the same time, or you might want to just try one thing out this holiday season. Okay, the first one is to reflect on meaningful traditions. In episode 14, I talked about how I plan to use my favorite family traditions as a way to blend my personal interests with my family time. So I don't want to rehash that all over again. I'm going to link episode 14 to the show notes so you can listen to some of the ideas that I proposed there. But the main point is that you can identify and focus on holiday traditions that truly resonate with your values and that bring you joy. Now, some of you might be creating traditions for the first time, like you're going to try something out this year, and it may become a new family tradition. I personally have put in a lot of work already to identify and initiate some family traditions. So it's something that I want to make sure happens annually during the holidays now. So why am I talking about traditions? I see traditions as a way to connect us to our past and our values. When we practice our traditions, we're putting our values in motion. So recognizing what matters to you is such a crucial part of defining your core purpose and aligning your life around it. These traditions are going to increase your sense of belonging in your family unit. So how do you do this? I want you to kind of scan your holiday traditions that already exist. Write down the holiday activities that you already do and ask yourself, which ones feel meaningful? Which ones feel like obligations? I want you to choose intentionally. Select 1 or 2 of these traditions and then reflect on your personal or family values and prioritize those. Now, if you have a life plan, this is going to be so much easier. I'm going to link episode 8 that talks about how to create a life plan. Okay, so let's say you don't really have any traditions that seem to be a regular thing or that align with your values. Then you're going to want to create a new tradition. To do this, think about a passion or a value that you want to celebrate. So for example, if creativity is an important value to you, maybe you can start a craft-based or a DIY tradition with your family. Something I look forward to every year is selecting a new ornament. So every year, our Christmas tree grows by 1 extra ornament. Another example is that a close family member gifts us with a photo book every holiday, and we display it on our console table. So whenever we get the new one, we just switch it out for the last year one, and that becomes on display for the rest of the year. The next 2 ways for self-discovery have to do with the fact that the holidays are a unique time. There's constant novelty, increased family and social time, and often it's a change of environment and scheduling too. So that's a perfect time for self-reflection and also to try new things. It's a natural source of inspiration and creativity, and you're likely to be embedded in conversations that stimulate all kinds of interesting ideas. I want you to enjoy the enchantment of the holidays because that can spur on optimism and confidence in you to really try new things. I also find that I'm usually high in spirits during this time, and my personality really shines through. And because of that, it's a nice compliment to be pursuing my passion projects as well. The gifts that you receive during this time can even inspire you to try new things, to use them, or to do things with them. So with that in mind, the next 2 things are to embrace the magic of the holidays to fuel your self-reflection and also to experiment with your passion projects. Reflection can occur in many ways. Everyone has a different reflection ritual. So for me, I like to go for walks. I share gratitude with my family at meals. I enjoy watching my kids playing carefree, especially during such a joy-filled period. Their smiles and their laughs are perfect backdrops for me to relax and just let my mind wander. I use those moments when they're content to remind myself what I've accomplished, what I feel proud of, and what I like sharing with my family, how similar and different each of us are in my family, things like that. I also meditate for clarity. And journaling is something that I'm trying to become a little more consistent in. But there are lots of ways to journal as well. I like to focus on things that bring me joy. I call them sparks. When I get to sit down, I write things down about what was really neat in the day. Something that my kids said that made me smile or laugh, or that made my heart swell. Some moment of happiness from my day. And I jot that down. It's basically become my instruction manual for creating happiness in my life. Because when I flip back, it's just a series of happy moments, and I always think to myself, how can I recreate this? The overall process basically takes me like 2 minutes. There are actually studies that show the benefits of journaling as a way of boosting your well-being. Neuroscience research indicates that reflection strengthens your self-awareness and reduces stress. Intentional quiet moments can help you reconnect with your inner voice. Now, the caveat is that most of these studies were in patients and they required journaling sessions multiple days of the week, usually more than 10 minutes. So my experience is probably anecdotal and I don't know how it relates to all that research, but for me, I find my 2 minutes works just fine and I do feel that boost of optimism and gratitude. I'm sure if I need to do deeper self-reflection, I would probably have to sit for a longer time. And by the way, I'm including great life crafting, personal growth journal prompts for busy moms in my newsletter. If you want some inspiration for your reflections and increase your self-awareness and self-connection, sign up for my twice monthly newsletter. Use the link in the show notes. And that third solution is to experiment with your passion projects during the holidays. The holiday season is an opportunity to pilot test a passion project that excites you. So just make it small scale, which reduces the intimidation factor for any pressure that you might be setting for yourself. It's really no secret that I believe passion projects are the main way to strengthen your individuality. It also increases your freedom and it adds to your overall happiness and mental well-being. So how would you do this during the holidays? I want you to identify a passion that you've been curious about or that maybe you've put on hold. Start small. Dedicate, let's say, one evening to your project during the holidays. So for instance, I like to try out one new recipe. I've mentioned a few times before, I'm not a confident cook, but one new thing, it just doesn't sound intimidating to me and I can totally handle that. Another thing is that I really miss gardening during the winter. So this year, I really want to try out winter greenhouse gardening. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to give it a go. In the past, I've used the holidays to experiment with interior decorating. I make fashion changes, hairstyle changes. I just use the holidays as this sort of anything goes, this is special, I'm going to try something new kind of attitude. And another thing that's optional is to involve your family. You can turn your new passion into a bonding experience by inviting your kids or your spouse to join in. You could just keep it for you, that's also fine. That could be a little personal retreat for yourself, but sometimes, you want to keep the family involved during the holidays. So that's it. See how easy it can be and how much there is to look forward to during the holidays? Even I was falling for the trap of seeing my upcoming task list grow during the holidays, and working on this episode actually helped me with my excitement, and it started to trump this exhaustion that I was expecting to experience. To recap, we talked about how moms often experience a drop or loss in their individuality for a prolonged period of time, where they feel disconnected from themselves and their purpose. And then this emptiness sort of deepens during the holiday hustle. But then I showed how we can flip the script and instead use the holidays to find a renewed sense of purpose. The 3 ways that we discussed are 1, focusing on meaningful traditions. Either find the ones that seem to work and align with your values and hone in on those and let go of the ones that feel like obligations, or create new ones that you'd like to see over the years. The second way is to take advantage of this uniquely magical time to reflect on things that bring you optimism, joy, and gratitude. The third way is to experiment with passion projects. Remember, do what is simple, not intimidating, and small scale. Also remember that self-discovery is a journey. The holidays are an opportunity to really take it small, but be inspired and take meaningful steps. So I hope you get to try these strategies out. They are so simple and can really only help. There just is no downside to trying any of them. Again, I really want to thank you for listening in today, and I wish you the most wonderful holiday wishes for you and your families. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe and tell other ambitious mamas about it. Who knows, you might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. Thank you for making my show a part of your day. I'll see you next week for another episode of the Solve for Mom podcast with Anoki Kapasi.